I'm from Canada, and I do research on electromagnetic pollution and how it affects people who have developed a sensitivity. So the title of my presentation is Electrosmog and Electro-Hypersensitivity. This is a growing problem in the world. People are becoming very ill from this radiation, and it's important for doctors to be able to treat them. And there are a growing number of doctors in the world who are becoming familiar with this. Just to give me a sense of how much people know here, do any of you have patients who are electrically sensitive? If you could just raise your hand. No? Okay, that's great. So we'll start right at the beginning then. I'm going to describe both the concept of electrosmog and electrosensitivity. We're all familiar with air pollution and the Los Angeles smog. And basically, electrosmog is the same type of thing. It's generated within buildings by a lot of the wireless technology we have. It's also generated outside by the antennas. And if we could see it, it would look something like this. It would look very similar to condensed air pollution. It comes through the air, it flows along wires, and it flows along the ground as well. And it's attributed to the use of electronic and electric devices. So ever since Edison invented the electric light bulb, we've had different inventions every few decades with radar, with radio, with television, with computers, and then eventually with wireless computers. And one of the things that we recognized is that every single time we had a new invention, there were some health concerns associated with that. And currently, there are so many new inventions coming online that require the use of microwave radiation. So the levels of microwave radiation are increasing very, very quickly in our society. The devices that we have in our homes include cordless phones, wireless computers. The things that we're exposed to outside include Wi-Fi. When you go to a cafe, you can also use your computer in a wireless mode. We have WiMAX, which is a very powerful type of antenna, and we have something called broadband over power lines that brings additional radiation into our homes. We also have smart meters which regulate, record the amount of electricity you're using or the amount of water or gas that you're using, and they send the information to the utility via a wireless mode. So that also contributes to the level of pollution. I like to think of it as a flood analogy. When you have very low levels of water, there's no problem. The minute the level of water goes above your head, it takes you a lot of energy to keep your head above water. Eventually, you cannot sustain that, and so you become very, very ill. And this is exactly what is happening. The level of electromagnetic radiation is climbing, and there are certain people who have become sensitive to this. They can simply no longer tolerate the exposure that they have. I'm sure many people here are aware of multiple chemical sensitivity, where some people have become so sensitized they can't even be exposed to someone wearing perfume. It bothers them. We also are aware of food allergies. Individuals can't eat certain types of food because they become quite ill. Well, electrosensitivity is also very similar, except it deals with electromagnetic energy that we're exposed to. The symptoms of electro-hypersensitivity are quite diverse. It affects the nervous system, the heart, respiration, the skin, the eyes, and a number of other body organs. And the people who are most sensitive are those who have had physical trauma to their nervous system. So if you've been in a car accident and experienced whiplash, you're likely to become sensitive to electromagnetic energy. If you've had electrical trauma in the form of a shock or multiple shocks, or if you've had minor electrocution, then you're likely to become much more sensitive. If you've been exposed to toxic chemicals, then once again, you have the same problem. And if you have a impaired immune system, a weak immune system, then you will also likely respond. And we know that children are very sensitive to a lot of these exposures in the environment, whether it's chemical or radiation, and they're also extremely sensitive. I'm going to try to address two questions. Is electrohypersensitivity psychological or is it physiological? And can we measure electrohypersensitivity objectively? I'm going to give you 5 different examples. One is going to deal with the compact fluorescent light bulbs and the effect that they have on people. This is a picture of a woman from the United Kingdom who sat for 20 minutes beside a compact fluorescent light bulb reading, and her face broke out in this kind of rash. She went to her dermatologist, and the dermatologist couldn't figure out what was wrong. They tried all sorts of ointments and nothing worked. When they finally realized it was the light bulb and she got rid of those light bulbs, her skin problems totally cleared up. A number of people are experiencing the same type of problem. Compact fluorescent light bulbs, the energy-efficient light bulbs that we're all encouraged to buy, emit radio frequency radiation, shown in blue in this particular spectrum. They emit dirty electricity that flows along wires and comes into your home in different rooms in your house. They also emit ultraviolet radiation, and so people who are very sensitive to UV radiation cannot sit close to these light bulbs, and they contain mercury. So if you break one of these light bulbs in your home, the gaseous mercury can actually become a neurotoxin, can be very toxic if you don't ventilate your home properly. Compact fluorescent light bulbs are making people sick, and the primary symptoms are skin problems, headaches, fatigue, dizziness, depression, and brain fog. And by brain fog, I'm referring to people who become very confused, they can't think clearly, and they can't recall things clearly. If you have patients who have these symptoms, I would strongly encourage you to ask them if they have these energy-efficient light bulbs in their home. If they do, ask them to stop using them for 1 week. Usually within a few days, the symptoms disappear. So this is one way that you can treat people who have these disorders rather than giving them the pills to get rid of the pain, the pills to deal with the depression. There are 3 groups in the United Kingdom who have come out against compact fluorescent light bulbs. They include the British Dermatological Association, Migraine Action, and Epilepsy Action. And these groups are asking that their patients be allowed to continue using the incandescent light bulbs because these light bulbs make them ill. Example number 2. I've been working with people who have multiple sclerosis, and we find that dirty electricity in the home can actually make their symptoms worse. Dirty electricity affects some people who have multiple sclerosis. I'm going to show you 2 examples. One is a 27-year-old man who has had MS for 2 years. He walks with a cane. He has difficulty with balance. He's very depressed, very tired. And we went to his home and asked him if he would participate in a study where we would clean up the dirty electricity in his home using special filters. We measured the dirty electricity in his home, and it was up to about 400 units, and the units right now are not very important. After we put filters in, we measured it again, and the numbers dropped below 40. I asked him if I could videotape him walking. Now, this young man is not taking any medication. You can see he has a bit of a swagger. His parents have actually placed a rail here so that he could hold on to it when he's walking. Within 3 days of us cleaning up the dirty electricity, he stopped using his cane. I went back 2 weeks later, and this is what we saw. You can't even tell that he has multiple sclerosis anymore. When he goes out into an environment where he goes shopping or he goes into a place that has a lot of lighting, his symptoms come back. So it's not a cure for his multiple sclerosis. We think that the energy that he's being exposed to, the frequencies, are actually interfering with his nervous system and making his multiple sclerosis worse.